And welcome back in live to us here with the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris, once again behind the scenes as we have you covered on everything going on around the Dallas Cowboys on today's show. That'll include injury news. That will include, unfortunately, some DeMarvion Overshown replacements as part of today's show and much more as well. We're going to begin, as we often do, with some questions for you guys in the audience. First up, do the Cowboys need to get another linebacker in light of the DeMarvion Overshown injury? 1 for yes, 0 for no. If you guys have not already heard, Overshown's season is over. He tore his ACL, unfortunately. I'll give some shout-outs as these flow in. Marble Sky says 1. Daniel Moriarty says 1. Jalen Royal says 1. Sack77 says 0. Untouchable Raider, 1960s, writing in Kyle Van Noy. Toxic Tom Downey burner account is writing in Rolando McClain. You always got the dark side of the Cowboys legends down pat there, my friend. Bloodslinger, Wendy Conway, Alex the Chef, Gabriel Gonzalez, Kyle Hemphill, all typing in their ones. Anthony Barr right in from Danelle Graves. CKY Dan 666 says 1. TKG says half. Would help, but not mandated. Winston Shan now writes in Jalen Smith. He's at the Saints, so can't sign him, which is for the best. Josh Simons says 1. Chucky Keys, Roosters Realm have their zeros in there. Jared Mercer, Ken Please, typing in 1. I will make note this is the pin poll, I should say, on today's show. So make sure you guys vote on that side as well. 1 for yes, 0 for no. If the Cowboys need to get another linebacker. You can also pick a RB2 in the comments section. DV for Deuce Vaughn, RD for Rico Dowdle, MD for Malik Davis. We did this at the end of our preseason watch party, and it was like 80%, I think is what it was, Deuce Vaughn's on that front. So certainly interesting from that perspective. So DV, RD, or MD for the number 2 back. Get those comments in right now. Give some shout-outs here. I see DVs from Marble Sky, Adam Archuleta, Ken Please, Dylan, Randy, Daniel Moriarty, Dorian Tuggle, Ken Please, Danelle Graves, Xylophone as well. MD from Clayton Lockhart, RD from Bloodslinger. It's a heavy votes in favor of our small king, Deuce Vaughn. A $5 super chat from JMoney13 says, thank you for the daily content. Keep it up. Thank you for watching, JMoney13. I really do appreciate it. When you go to the next way after that, grab me a beer. We'll do beer cheers for every $5 or higher super chat on today's live show. In the meantime, pick your running back number 2, DV, RD, or MD. CKY Dan says DV, but he likes Dowdle as well. Michael Favor says RD. Got a write-in vote for Ryan Nall. Yeah, I remember Ryan Nall. That was a fun month he was on the team. Jimmy Rogers says bring Miles Jack back out of retirement. I might get the mailbag, Jimmy. I don't hate that one. Marcus Jones says RD. Grant says RD. This one's to you, J Money. Bottoms up. Appreciate that. We got a Nick Ralston right, and I remember him, the fullback. He was around for a little bit on that front. Was certainly entertaining overall. Now we got write-ins and people just naming historic RB2s. Joseph Randall, Alfred Morris. Plenty of more names on that front there. Troy Hambrick, hitting all the bases there. Yeah, throwing some. Got Ryan Nall in there. Oh, Tyler Klutz. Now we're seeing fullbacks. Oh, I love you guys. Never change at all, please. It's very, very entertaining for me to see those continuously flow in here on the Cowboys Report. So DV for Deuce Vaughn, RD for Rico Dowdle, MD for Malik Davis. Now, today's show is made possible by Rocket Money. Who here has forgot to cancel a subscription? Or maybe you have one currently you forgot about. I would say most of us at some point have done that, especially when you do the free trial and then you forget and then you kind of end up getting screwed on that front there. If subscriptions are draining your wallet, then you need Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions that they might not even remember using. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Most people think they spend around $80 on their subscriptions, when in reality, the number is closer to $200. When you're signed up for so many things like streaming services, you used to watch the one show, kind of Ted Lasso for me, but by the way, you forget ones, right? You have free trials for delivery you don't lose. It's easy to lose track of what you're paying for. With Rocket Money, you can easily cancel the ones you don't want with just a press of the button. No more long hold times or annoying emails with customer service. Rocket Money does the work for you, and they can even negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Links in the comment section and in the description. It's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Over 3 million users and counting. Rocket Money customers saved an average of $720 per year. Check the comment section and the description, rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Let's talk offensive line here. Would you sign Jason Peters? F for you'd sign him, P for you would pass. Get those votes in. The O-line's a bit of a concern for me. The depth, at least. The starters are fine. It's the backups. I see. S's, I burp a little bit there. S's from Eli Aaron, Alex the Chef, Josh Simons, Winston Shan, Derek Brady, exclusive one, Caleb Bellamy, Dorian Tuggle, Andrew Vanderpool, King Trill, Donnell Graves, Jerry Brooks, P from Sprager. Eli Aaron is better than Josh Ball. Jeremy chugged his burner, spamming his S. Brent Workman, King Thaddy Daddy. That's a fun name. I like it. Wendy says S, he did okay. Kyle S, JP was a great sub for last year. Grant says sign him now. Clayton says S, I guess. Moxie's mixed. James Adams. Tom Downey says hard pass, however. Daniel, yes, because you need the offensive line depth. Keep the replies coming. S for sign. You want to add Jason Peters. P for you would pass at instead. Delwood of Washington is a bit behind, so click that live button to get fully caught up. Make sure you aren't lagging behind from that perspective. So keep the S's and the P's coming in the comment section, and vote on this one, which we will also talk about in today's Rumors Roundup. What's your concern level over Mazi Smith? The answer should be low. We've had like a game and a half of actual snaps, if that, out of Mazi Smith so far. So what's your concern level? 1 to 10. 1 low end to the high end. Toxic Tom Downey Burner says 0. I'd probably give it, got to vote at least a 1 minimum. He has not been very good the first 2 games. 2 or 3. 3. 7, 2, 0, 3, 7, 5, 3, 5, 3, 1, 4, 1, 3, 4, 3, 3, 4, 6, 6, 4, 3, 3, 1, a 5, a 4, a 1. So the vast majority, unsurprisingly, coming in on the low end here. 5, a 6.9, which is the correct answer, but also isn't. It's too high, but it's funny. 7, 3, 3. Let's see. 5.5. Another 3 in there from Winston. Daniel's behind, by the way. 10 from Texas Boy. Who's wants to move D-Law to DT? He can play DT in passing downs, but he's not big enough to hold up every down. As good as he's a run defender at defensive end, at defensive tackle. And now a bunch of 6.9s coming in. A $5 super chat. Some beer cheers. From Blood Slinger. Says Rashawn Evans for a linebacker. Thoughts? Love your show. For starters, make sure you tune in to the DeMarvion Overshown replacements. You might see a name like Rashawn Evans on that one there. So stay tuned. If you want to add a linebacker, I think Evans is probably one of your better free agent options out there. I don't think he's great. I think he's maybe LB 3 or 4, but that's what you're looking for at this moment. Now, the show does not start according to producer Chris. He set the tone today. Says we will not start the show until we hit 100 likes. We have 400 people watching live right now. 43 likes. So not the best ratio, if we're being honest there. We can easily get to 100. Initially you had said 200, and I talked you down. We could probably get to 200 here. The goal is always 50% viewer to like ratio. 200 would be that 50% ratio. So help us out by liking today's video right now. It's very simple. The more people who like it, the more YouTube realizes, okay, these guys are actually doing good stuff. We should show it to even more people. Allows us to continue to grow and continue to expand the studio spaces here at Chat Sports. Have a dedicated Cowboys Report studio. It's all great. So if you haven't already, like the video right now. We're at 126. I think we get to 150 here. If we get to 150, we got to 100 quickly there. If we get to 150, I'll do another beer cheers here. Dallas Turner says hit the like button. Is that Bama's Dallas Turner? Who knows? People are talking there. Appreciate that. So if you haven't already, folks, please do me a favor and like today's video. I see Akili Russell in there. Neil just says no. Neil makes me sad. That makes me sad, Neil. Now, Neil's watched for a bunch, so I think he's kind of trolling a little bit, which makes it fun because I troll too, but that's okay. We're at 141 likes. I think I might get there at 150 by the time the show actually starts here. Here's what's coming up on this edition of the Cowboys Report. Latest Cowboys news, injury-focused, and rumors as well. DeMarvion Overshown replacements, because unfortunately, in case you have not heard, DeMarvion Overshown's season is over. We will have a Cowboys mailbag, which you can get on by using hashtag Cowboys or super chatting like JMoney13 and Blood Slinger have already done. And we'll go through updated roster projections for the Dallas Cowboys. So if you haven't already, get ready in the comments section. Now we got the 150 likes. I knew we'd get there. Coming up here on the Cowboys Report. Only about 57% of the viewers here on the Cowboys Report are actually subscribed. It's a bit of a disappointing number. Let's get that number up. Closer to 100%, the better. If you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. Some rumors to come, but the news from Sunday on the injury updates that went down from Saturday, mostly not good. DeMarvion Overshown tore his ACL. His season is over. He will go on IR soon, as will John Stevens, the tight end. He also tore his ACL, by the way. So both of those players' seasons are over. That will open up 2 more roster spots, although you're going to get down to 53 again next week, so not as impactful. Matt Waletkzo shoulder injury is minor, day to day, so he should be okay for week 1 in theory. All right, let's break down some Cowboys rumors, especially in light of the Matt Waletkzo injury. Should the Cowboys bring back Jason Peters? I'm going to give this one 2 stars. I'm firmly in that rumor category right now for the Cowboys and for Peters. ESPN reported, Adam Schefter, courtesy of Peters' camp / his agent, that Peters wants to play another season, that he wants to be out there and give it another go for another year. Now, Peters is 41 years old. He is certainly not a spring chicken anymore. But the Cowboys, like a whole lot of teams out there, don't have very good depth on the offensive line. Peters played a little bit last year, and he was put in a very tough position of pretty much constantly bouncing around the offensive line. Right tackle, left guard, consistent just shuffling, which is not tough on any player, especially an older guy like Jason Peters. Now, the numbers were okay. The offensive line depth, though, for Dallas is maybe not okay. If your top 5 are out there, you're good. If those guys are out there, you will be okay. But your backups, Awesome Richards, Matt Farniok, Brock Hoffman, Josh Ball, TJ Bass, if healthy, Chuma Adoga, Matt Waletkzo. It's not a very good depth group, which is what most NFL teams are facing this time of the year. But you haven't been able to run the football at all in the late third, fourth quarter. For the most part, that's sort of a couple nice Deuce Vaughn runs. Your O-line's at least partially to blame there. So what would you guys do? Would you sign Jason Peters? This is today's pinned comment. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, that's fine. Actually, take advantage of the ad while it's playing. Ignore it. Go vote instead. So you don't miss any of the actual video. S for sign, P for pass at the pinned comment of today's show. Look, I do not trust the depth on the offensive line. So if you still think Jason Peters can play, which at age 41 is a valid question if he can, then yeah, I'd have some interest, even if that ends up being maybe more of a next Monday or Saturday signing, but you're kind of getting out of time here. He wouldn't play much in the preseason anyway. The guys who have played in the preseason, these are all their PFF grades, by the way, I think TJ Bass actually done a really good job in pass protection. I think a little bit low on the run grade, but he's in there for the fourth quarter mainly and not the best results yet. Josh Ball has run blocked very well. A couple of nice runs have come behind Josh Ball. I will give him credit for that. He's also been kind of middling in pass pro, though I do think his game against Seattle last Saturday was the best game I've ever seen him play. Matt Farniok, Brock Hoffman, my math ain't mathin' here. Feel like they're really valuing the run blocking compared to their overall grades. Farniok, I think, has been a real disappointment. Hoffman had some buzz of a surprise roster candidate, and I don't think he's worthy of that at this particular stage. Those are your interior linemen. Your tackles, meanwhile, Austin Richards actually been kind of nice. Pleasantly surprised so far by him, but he also needs more time. And although I want him on my roster, I am not sure I trust him to be like a guy who plays immediately in year one. Matt Waletkzo was really rough against Seattle. Boye Mafe cooked him a bunch, and now he's banged up too. I think he's a right side player mainly anyway, so that wouldn't help you if and when Tyron Smith goes down. Alex Taylor has been actually decent, but also not perfect, and Earl Bostic definitely needs more time. So I am a bit concerned in terms of your O-line depth. I would have interest in Jason Peters or any veteran out there. The issue is it's not a great group, right? Taylor Lewan's out there. I don't know if his knee is healthy at this stage. We talked a lot about Dalton Reisner in the past. I am confused why he is unsigned in late August. Probably means I was wrong about him and the NFL knows something we don't, whether that's the decline in play, injuries, or whatever, but he can be my sixth lineman. That's fine. Michael Schofield, Andrew Norwell, Justin Pugh are all kind of really older, banged-up guards that I don't know if I trust them at all, but maybe they're a little bit better than Josh Ball. So Peters and Reisner to me really stand out as some of those top candidates at the offensive line, or maybe you wait till roster cutdown time or trade for somebody and maybe send away some of your good depth along the defensive line. Now, today's show is made possible by Rocket Money. Are subscriptions draining your wallet? The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions, and they might not even remember subscribing to like half of them. If you have no idea just how much you're spending each month, then you need Rocket Money. It's this great app that tracks all of your expenses so you know exactly where your money is going. Most people think they spend around $80 a month on their subscriptions, when in reality, the number is closer to $200. When you're signed up for so many things like streaming services used to watch one show, that's Apple TV for me, or free trust where you don't even lose, it's easy to lose track of what you're paying for. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money can even negotiate to lower your bills for you, folks, up to 20%. All you do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. With over 3 million users and counting, Rocket Money customers save an average of $720 a year. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Next up on the Rumors Roundup is Mazi Smith already a bust? Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it from that perspective have already gone in a very negative direction from that perspective. So I myself am giving this the fake news designation for Mazi Smith. It is way too early to freak out about where Mazi Smith is at through like a game and a half-ish of actual snaps relative to the regular season, like I am not in that concerned category at this stage. I don't think it's going to be an issue for Mazi Smith. I think we have to relax and be patient here. Like, I'm old enough to remember when we were very quickly trying to write off, Jalen Tolbert a year ago, whatever. Now, to be clear, Mazi Smith has not been very good so far. 65 total snaps in the preseason, 1 tackle, 1 pressure, and a really bad PFF run grade on defense. Too often he's getting turned. And I think the reasoning here is Michigan had always asked Mazi Smith to read and then react. So kind of hold out, don't get too far downfield, take on the double team, then do some reacting stuff. The Cowboys are asking him more to react, then read/react while you are reading. That takes time to grow, and Mazi Smith was always a developmental upside piece. Great athlete, was not yet the sum of his parts. So patience is important on that part. Now, here's what Mike McCarthy said on Mazi, saying, quote, "There's a reason why you sit the number of players that you do." And he's right there at the top of the list. He needs this work, and it's another opportunity to go out there against their first group. It's exactly what Mazi needs. So this is a safe space, nonetheless, to raise your concerns over the Cowboys' first-round pick, if you have any. What is your concern level over Mazi Smith at this time? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. It is 1, of course, on the low end. If you want to write it in 0, that's fine too, I guess. 10 on the high end. Get those concern levels for Mazi Smith in the comment section right now. My answer is like maybe a 2, somewhere in that range. Mazi Smith does have work to do. But I do think we need to relax here. Everyone had written, a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people had written off Jalen Tolbert after 1 year. Young people need time to grow and develop professionally. It's not even about what he's doing in August. It's about what he's doing, next August, the August after that, and of course later on this year too. So patience. You don't need to be calling Mazi Smith a draft bust already. So don't panic too much on the Mazi Smith front for the Cowboys. Speaking of alleged draft busts, are we seeing the Kelvin Joseph redemption arc? I'll give it 2 stars. Now, you guys who have watched the show for a long time know I have been plenty mean to Boss Man Fat, but I'll also give players credit where it is due. Joseph has played very well this preseason. Now, we can make comments about the level of competition, that's all fine, but Joseph in the nickel corner spot has looked far more comfortable and confident than what he ever did on the outside. Now, Joseph is still fighting for a roster spot. I want to make that part very clear as well. So with that in mind, what would you guys do with Kelvin Joseph? K to keep him, C for cut him. I do think he's looked better, but as we'll get into, there is still a bit of a numbers game going on right now at the cornerback spot for the Dallas Cowboys. K for keep, C for cut. Again, I think this is the best Joseph has looked. And at some level, I do think we overvalue the draft capital invested. How many times have you heard so-and-so was a blank round pick for a reason? Well, sometimes the reason is they were wrong, Joseph was, much like some of these other Cowboys players we've discussed today, a bit of a raw developmental piece who needed time. Didn't play well at all last year. But so far in the preseason, he himself has broken up more passes than what he has allowed. He's allowed 1 catch on 6 targets for 13 yards and 2 pass breakups. That is a drastic shift from what we saw last year for Kelvin Joseph in the preseason or in the regular season, and what we saw from Deshaun Wright last year in the preseason. So Dallas does have options at corner. They have Trayvon Diggs. They have Stephon Gilmore. They have Deron Bland. Jordan Lewis, I think, might begin the year on the PUP list. So Deshaun Wright, Eric Scott, Izzy Mukwamu can play safety. Kelvin Joseph has a real chance, knowing Bland can play on the outside, to potentially emerge as one of those last players to make the roster. And if Bones Fossil trusts him as a special teamer, then that will also go a long way for him making that last spot. Those 40 to 53-ish spots, hey, they need them to be special teamers. And Joseph, although not perfect, still too many penalties there, can help in that area. All right, prediction time. Predict the Cowboys record for me. I'll give some shout-outs here as well. Our friend MG is back in the comment section. I didn't see MG during the game. I was worried something happened to you, buddy. He's the biggest Cowboys fan I know. Get your votes in as we answer some super chats here from MNZ Games. That's how I choose to pronounce it. If I'm wrong, I'm terribly sorry. Tom, will Jalen Moreno Cropper make the 53? I don't think so. I think practice squad's an option for Cropper. I think he's at best like receiver 8-ish right now on this team, and they're just not going to carry 8 there. It's a good question, though. Andrew Vanderpool, $5. Bring me the Kool-Aid. Tolbert by game 4 will take over Gallup's spot as wide receiver 3. Call me crazy. I don't think they're going to go that far. But I do feel a hell of a lot more confident in Jalen Tolbert having to play games if something happens to one of your top 3. Hopefully not Lamb especially. But if Gallup's, broken again, I'm down to give Tolbert some more reps there. First time super chat from James Adams. 2 claps for James here. Offensive line, it's been all downhill since we lost Frederick. Miss that man, bless him. That was like 2016 O-line. Man, that was a special unit. Wasn't the same once Leary left too, and then especially once Frederick went down. Although I am pleased with the way Biotis has been playing, but now some of your other linemen like Tyron Smith are also getting up there in age. Frederick was the beginning of the decline, I suppose, from that perspective. But thank you, James. We appreciate your first ever super chat here. All right, if you haven't already, get in the comment section. Predict the Cowboys record for me. I see Jarrett's is 6-9, but actually 11-6. Nice. 14-3. 21-14, 13-4, 13-4, 13-4, 14-3, 12-5, 13-4, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, 8-9, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. What the hell? Everyone's picking 12. It's like 15 12-5s in a row. Oh my goodness. 11-6s now. So. Before the preseason began, I think it was mostly like 10 wins, 11 wins. Now it's like 11 wins and 12 wins, which, hey, I get it. 10 or 12 wins, 13-4, 13-4. A bunch of 12-5s, though. Alex the Chef is 12-5 with a Super Bowl as well, which, hey, I appreciate on that front there. A couple more 13-4s from Diego and Charles Moore. Wendy says 14-3, 13-4. At least 10 from King Trill. Yeah, I think it's a bit troubling if you don't get to at least 10, although your team is probably better this year. Schedule's a bit harder, so do keep that in mind in terms of what to expect this season for the Cowboys. Keep those comments in as we break down the latest on the Dallas Cowboys coming up next. We break down some DeMarvion Overshown replacements on today's show after, unfortunately, Overshown's season is over. 3 routes to replace him, right? Internal options, guys on the roster, players who are currently free agents, or trade and cut candidates. We'll break all of that down for you guys here, and if and when the Cowboys sign someone or make a move with that open roster spot, we will have you covered. If you want Cowboys videos, if you are excited that Cowboys football is fully back here, then subscribe. Hell, use the sub button as a reaction to show you are hyped about Cowboys football, even if you're disappointed with the injury to DeMarvion Overshown. As we mentioned, his season is now over following that torn ACL against the Seahawks. This sucks, man. This is a tough loss of a promising young player. The Cowboys were already, do you trust linebacker 4 or 5, whatever, not too sure. Now, you lose Overshown. He was going to be linebacker 3 on this team. He had kind of carved out that particular role for himself. He, I think, maybe more than any other rookie outside of maybe Deuce Vaughn in the same conversation there, I think Overshown had impressed the Cowboys coaching staff more than others on this team in terms of like what they thought they were getting versus what they had seen for the first couple weeks and months. They're like, dude, this guy's better than we thought. At Texas, you saw the film of him being like, he's not quite confident out there. He's kind of looking around, guessing a little bit there. He was explosive on film. We saw that in Dallas. He was more decisive with the Cowboys too. He had already taken a step forward. He was going to play a role for you as a rookie, and Dan Quinn was going to have some fun creativity-ness with him, even just playing with linebacker, moving other guys around. That was going to happen. Overshown had 9 tackles in the preseason in 46 snaps. That's awesome production. In less than a game, he had a good game's worth of tackles, wasn't missing any, can do some coverage stuff there. He was really impressive. So it sucks to lose him. So, do the Cowboys now, with Overshown out for the year, need to get another linebacker? This is going to be today's pinned comment. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there, type in 1 for yes, they do, or 0 for no, they do not. Ignore the ad. Go vote right now. So now we will look at those 3 routes to replace DeMarvion Overshown. As with most injuries, the first place you look is on your roster. Now, you have your 2 starters plugged in there, Leighton Vander Esch, Damone Clark. That is not going to change. The other linebackers on your roster are Jabril Cox, Devin Harper, and Malik Jefferson. Jefferson's banged up, by the way, and maybe he makes the roster as a depth piece, but he's not going to play for you. Not listed there, by the way, is Micah Parsons, because he should be playing pass rusher. If you want to line him up there as a blitzer, that's fine. But if you're having him do typical off-ball linebacker things instead of mostly blitzing or rushing, you're making a mistake. So first up, then, of the internal candidates is our boy Jabril Cox. Spam Cox out in the comment section. I have not been that impressed by him in the preseason so far. I don't know if he's fully confident yet. And when you're not fully confident, you don't normally fire off the same way. So I've seen some flashes. Would be a potentially big third game, or third preseason game for Jabril Cox. The guy who subbed in before Jabril Cox did, mind you, in that second preseason matchup was one Devin Harper, who I think we have overlooked a little bit. I thought he played decently against the Seattle Seahawks. There was one play, though, was just to highlight Mazi Smith getting kind of taken away. Devin Harper just gets sucked two gaps over. Just did a bad job there. So I don't know if I trust either of those guys if they had to play right now. If they're linebacker 4, it's fine. Linebacker 3, I'd lean Harper, but I'm a bit anxious there. The actual solution might just be play more safeties. You've got multiple safeties on this Cowboys team who have shown the ability to basically play a linebacker. Jaron Kearse is a linebacker. He spends his time in the box. Donovan Wilson can play in the box. Marquise Bell can do the exact same thing. Wanye Thomas kind of can as well. So the solution might be just run big nickel every chance you need to, and even some big dime in there as well. That might be the simplest solution, but you do still have that loss of Overshown that isn't exactly ideal. Now, have you guys forgot about a subscription before? I know I have before I signed up with Rocket Money. They are a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps you lower your bills all in one place. This actually blew my mind when I found out about it. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. Think about how many free trials you subscribe to that you probably never canceled. So I'm a big fan of Rocket Money. Most people think they spend about $80 on subscriptions, when in reality, it's closer to $200. If you've signed up for so many things, streaming services, delivery apps, etc., it's easy to lose track of what you're paying for. Rocket Money, by the way, can also negotiate to lower your bills for you, up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. With them, you can easily cancel subscriptions you don't want anymore with just a press of the button. No more long hold times or annoying emails with customer service. Rocket Money does the work for you. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That is rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show, rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Let's look now at the free agent options for the Dallas Cowboys. First up is Anthony Barr. And this is someone we all know. He spent last year with the Dallas Cowboys, and I definitely am not playing him over Damone Clark and over Leighton Vander Esch. Barr clearly wants to still play. Took this with the Giants, with the Saints, did not sign without a spot. Barr was at linebacker. I thought at times he was kind of probably your outside of cornerback two for a good portion of the year, your biggest liability on defense. So I don't mind Barr in terms of just his ability and what he has left, but I feel like you're still kind of like, yeah, you sign Barr to add a linebacker, you're kind of like, well, we're injured, and we're still right back where we were in trouble again. So I'm okay to bring in Anthony Barr. I do think he's on the decline. He doesn't have that much left in the tank. I think you're looking at maybe one more year of below average play left for him. So would you bring back Anthony Barr? Y for yes, N for no. I do assume, by the way, that this would be a 1-year vet minimum style deal, but get your votes in for me in the comments section right now. Next up is Kyle Van Noy, who I would have more interest in if you needed an edge linebacker hybrid. Van Noy has been a fun player for a long time in the NFL he can blitz some, he can not really do coverage stuff like he used to do. It was okay as an off-ball linebacker. The decline is set in for Van Noy, and I don't think he's a one-to-one replacement for DeMarvion Overshown. I think, God forbid you lost Micah Parsons, not going to hope that's never ever going to happen. Van Noy might make some more sense because he can do a little bit of both. So, notable name. Production's not terrible, but if you want an off-ball linebacker of the free agents, it's the third name on this list that stands out to me. That is Rashaan Evans, the former Titans and Falcons linebacker. Also remains unsigned, by the way, on the open market. You don't have your linebacker 3 right now. Evans is the tackle numbers are lying to you. You see 159 tackles and you went, oh my God, he's awesome. How is he unsigned? Well, tackle numbers alone are not a good way to evaluate players. Where are the tackles coming from? Are they in coverage because he's getting beat? Are they 5 yards downfield? Or are they a yard after a carry? If it's the latter, let's ride. Otherwise, The tackle numbers jumped up. The Falcons don't have a great linebacker room, and they did not retain Rashaan Evans. So, as a backup veteran, sure. As a player you want to give real snaps to, not so sure. Now, if and when the Cowboys choose to make a move, we will have a video for you on whatever move it is. So if you haven't already done so, then subscribe. Free videos right here on the Cowboys Report. All right, next up is Damian Wilson, a Cowboys legend who has actually stuck around a bit longer than Anthony Hitchens has. So I wanted to make note of Damian Wilson, who's kind of bounced around the league a little bit as of late. And so, too, in a similar boat, Jaylen Brown. I think both of those guys are among the better-ish off-ball linebackers, but Deion Jones signed already. Zach Cunningham signed. Miles Jack signed and retired in a span of a month. So the free agent linebacker market for now has gotten a little bit thin. Some other options, trade and cut candidates to come, but first, who do you want to add at linebacker? Any player that you can feasibly get. You're not going to bring prime Sean Lee out of retirement somehow. You're not going to, trade for Roquan Smith or whatever. Instead, name a player who you want to add at the linebacker spot. How about we get fun with the first name here? Isaiah Simmons. I don't think he's really available right now. He's also playing safety right now for the Cardinals because the Jaron Kearse role is kind of Simmons' best fit, although he's going to play free safety for Arizona, which is going to be interesting. If anyone can unlock Simmons, it's Dan Quinn, but probably too expensive to go trade for right now. Malik Harrison could be cut by the Ravens, a former third-round pick. He's kind of on the bubble. Maybe a seventh-round pick helps the Ravens make up their mind on that front. Cam McGrone, who I liked coming out of Michigan, but has had some injury problems, which, is an issue there. is a somewhat notable name there. Shaquille Quarterman, the Jags linebacker. They've got a lot of off-ball linebackers to kind of a weird extent from that perspective. That's a name to consider. And then one more Cowboys legend. What about Luke Gifford? Not necessarily guaranteed a roster spot right now. Probably safer than not. But this whole Luke Gifford was going to start for Tennessee thing was never going to materialize. He's on the bubble-ish, on the right side of the bubble right now, down in Tennessee. Titans could save a decent amount if you were to trade for him. He's not that expensive for you. Maybe a little 7th-round pick could help you out from that perspective. So if you want someone who knows the system, can be a backup and help you on special teams with Overshown now gone, Gifford's a fun dark horse name to keep an eye out for. All right, shout out your city in the comment section. Give some shout-outs once these flow in here. It's always a bit of that latency delay there. See Gorman. I don't know where's Gorman at. I've never heard of it. Ocala, Florida. Columbia, South Carolina. Fleetwood, Pennsylvania. Florida, Dallas, Newport News, Virginia, Charleston, Providence, Deltona, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, and more. We have a super chat from Landlord from Wakanda. Says Cowboys fans are jealous. Hurts is a top 5 fullback. We them birds. So first off, you called him a fullback, which is really mean to your franchise quarterback. He's probably not a top 10 fullback. If you meant running back as another self-owned, probably not top 5 there either. If you meant quarterback, which I think is what you meant, he's not top 5, although I do think he's top 10. Also, this is the definition of paying your rent. So thank you, my friend. Landlord from Wakanda, ironically named, because now I am your landlord. Thanks for paying me rent. We actually hit that James one earlier there, Chris. Yeah, hit that one earlier. Some more shout-outs from your city. Sullivan, Indiana. You can also type in F dem birds if you want in the comments section too. Lufkin, Texas. El Paso. From Mexico. Apia Samoa. I'm not sure how to pronounce that city, unfortunately. Cassville, Rainsville. How far away are you from Rainsville, Alabama? You don't even know where that is, and you're from Alabama. Benton, Pasadena, Pensacola, San Benito, Waco, Indianapolis, Indiana, Seattle. Behind enemy lines this past weekend there, Justin. All right, another super chat from Chris B. Says, none of those linebackers excite me. Just play more safeties. That's what I would lean with there. I would not be mad if you added a veteran, but it's not a great crop, as it is in most cases in August. Now, maybe a trade could happen, and you trade away one of your backup defensive linemen. It might start to make some more sense at that perspective. All right, the mailbag is coming up next here on the Cowboys Report. There are 2 ways to get on it. Number 1, use hashtag Cowboys. Number 2, super chat. So, of the supers that have come in, I think Bloodslinger, MNZ Games, Andrew Vanderpool, maybe James Adams make the most sense as supers we can also include on the mailbag. If you just have normal questions, use hashtag Cowboys. So I see DJ Martin in there. I see Zeno Sayan in there. I saw some other ones coming earlier. When you use hashtag Cowboys, it's actually the only way for producer Chris to see your questions with where we're pulling them from. So that's kind of like the little filter we use to get questions queued up. Otherwise, it all just gets buried, right? There's so many comments and stuff that come in throughout the live show. We need that filter to make our lives just a little bit more easy from that perspective. So get your questions in, hashtag Cowboys or super chat if you want to get on the show. So Daniel, I see you in there. Vince, DeLunatic. Keep those comments coming here on today's, as we got a 20-piece. We won't go yet. Ernest Huntley. I also owe at least 2 more beer cheers and a 20-piece from Ernest. No message, but cheers, Ernest. There we go. Everyone spam EH in the comments section. I do like CKY Dan's mailbag question, too. That's pretty funny. All right, mailbag coming up here. Thank you very much, Ernest. You're watching the Cowboys Report, a mailbag, beginning, as usual, with some super thanks questions. From Jeremy Chuggs' burner account. The best thing Josh Ball has done for this organization is so bad, they have no choice but to give Martin that deal. Also, James Washington is now the most recent poster boy of being a Cowboys legend. I will say this for Josh Ball, and I have been plenty mean about him. I do think his performance against the Seahawks was actually pretty solid. I think there was maybe one bad pass protection rep in there from Ball. Thought the run blocking was been good. I think he's at his best going north and going south. I think the PFF run grade's a little bit high for me. I still don't trust him, but I'm at the point where if he's on the practice squad, probably not going to be as mad as I would have been even just like a couple weeks ago. So Ball should not be playing real snaps. Should not be. But I think he's been a little bit better as of late. Now, I saw there was a super thanks. It's a feature here on YouTube. Allows you to donate outside of live videos. We'll see some super chats as an example here in a little bit. But super thanks, it's the same thing, just on any video, one that's not live. Simply click the thanks icon, edit your message, send whatever you want to send in there. We appreciate your support here, and every super thanks is a shout out. From Richard Vavra, I think I'm pronouncing that last name right, Richard. If not, I'm very sorry. He says, why didn't Dak play in the preseason? QB's better than him did. And you're right. Patrick Mahomes was out there playing. For me, this comes down to two kind of mindsets here. Rust versus risk. Do I think the Cowboys will start a bit slow in week one? Yes. Am I okay taking that on to avoid the risk of injury? Yes, especially because we have to remember who was going to be out there on the offensive line. Who here wanted to play Tyron Smith in the first preseason game or any preseason game? I did not. He's on bubble wrap. You're probably giving Terrence Steele a uploaded workload, so he probably wasn't going to play. Zach Martin hadn't been in training camp. So I think the best realistic case was your offensive line out there was going to look like, Tyler Biadasz at center, that's great. Tyler Smith at left guard. Matt Waletkzo at left tackle. Awesome. Richards out there. Let's go at right tackle. Maybe you start Matt Farnick and play Tyler Smith at guard, and then you're playing Josh Ball. I'm not risking that. That's not worth it for me. Those reps in the end for the preseason wouldn't have been valuable or looked like what it would have been in a real game. So I think the context of the reps is what's most important. He's had a ton of them in camp, more than I think usual. So I don't think it made sense with the way it was currently set up for this Cowboys team. Now, you can disagree if you want. In an ideal world, if you promise me he doesn't get touched, then yeah, I'm in. But I think he would have been hit, and I don't want to risk that. Remember the last time the veteran starter played in Seattle? Yeah, bad things. Would you play Dak in the preseason? Y for yes or N for no. It's the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. From Blood Slinger says, thanks. Disagree about Sam Williams. Thought he should have been more disruptive to Seattle's backups. I actually was pretty pleased with Sam Williams outside of the stupid boneheaded penalty he took where he just went low and late on Drew Lock, which you just can't do anymore. 25 snaps in total for Sam Williams against the Seahawks. Now, do make note that about a little over half of those, is not were against the actual starters. So a good group of tackles for Seattle, by the way. At least a handful of snaps against the twos. You're not going to win every single rep. So I was fine with Sam Williams' play. Thought he was impactful outside of the boneheaded penalty. Who is your biggest preseason winner so far? Any player or coach, if you want to go that route instead, of the preseason games themselves at this stage, who has impressed you guys the most? Sound off for me in the comment section with your biggest preseason winner right now. It's any player or any coach who impressed you guys the most thus far through 2 preseason games. Jay Moore. Cowboys need to use Dak like this rookie season. If they do that, they will win the Super Bowl, just saying. I think what Mike McCarthy wants is to be able to run the ball better down in the stretch late in games. Remember what's also happened the last 2 years. Down the stretch of a season, you have been completely unable to run the football. That's an issue when you play a really great defense at like San Francisco in back-to-back years. Dak balled out on third downs. I would like to see pre-injury 2021 Dak again. And if your receivers don't drop passes, you got a good result in terms of your corners or your quarterback play. Super chat time from Blood Slinger, Rashawn Evans for linebacker. Thoughts? Love your show. I'm okay with it. If you want a veteran that's available currently, that's the name that stands out the most to me. I'm also not convinced he's that great of a player, especially anymore. Andrew Vanderpool, bring me the Kool-Aid. Tolbert by game 4 will overtake Michael Gallup's spot as wide receiver 3. Call me crazy. I don't know if he's really going to be receiver 3, especially early on this year, but I am much more confident in Jalen Tolbert than I was at any point previously as a member of the Cowboys. James Adams says the offensive line has been downhill ever since we lost Travis Frederick. Missed that man. Bless him. Between that and the Ron Leary loss, it kind of began the downward descent. Now Tyron Smith's not nearly as healthy, so I get where you're coming from, James. I do. Chris B, I'd like to see a few more RPOs this year to help the run. Yeah, the Cowboys don't use a ton of those. We'll see if that's an element that McCarthy adds more of. I think it's going to be a lot of slant flat concepts. And, some of those quick passes do kind of take the place of a ground game. Like, you've seen it a bunch in the preseason. Those quick passes to your backs in the flats, that's basically a run. So I think you'll see some of those things kind of hopefully lighten the load on your ground game. Dylan Juarez, how about a trade for an offensive lineman? Also, does Stephon Diggs really want a trade? We'll go to the O-lineman stuff here first. As for Diggs, no. I don't think that is going to happen. I know that, Screamin' A. Smith said it. Okay. Diggs was unhappy in Buffalo. Let's be clear on that. But they're not trading him. So it's a moot point, and I think he's past that now, at least for the time being. I would not be surprised if the Diggs stuff comes around again next offseason. As for offensive linemen, some names you can consider here. Pittsburgh actually has guard depth, so I'll make note of them. Kevin Dotson maybe is the odd man out. Maybe it's James Daniels. That's depth there. Ben Cleveland was a high draft pick-ish, but he's also been bad for them. You could always bring back Avion Collins once the Bears cut him. Want another backup tackle? I thought he was actually out playing Josh Ball down the stretch last year. Jackson Carman's a former second-round pick who might not make the roster in Cincinnati, and although he's not very good. And I actually think Il Manning, who the Cowboys brought in for a pre-draft visit as UDFA out of Hawaii, actually has flashed a bit for the Niners in the preseason. So probably more cut candidates here. Dotson's a trade candidate, but the issue is if you have a good backup offensive lineman, you don't trade him because no one else does. So name a player who you guys want to trade for. Could be any position. Maybe it's offensive line. Maybe it's somewhere else altogether. Drop that player name for me in the comment section. Who do you guys want to trade for? Larry Ars, would you turn right and face the questions for the remainder of the broadcast for $25? You need to do it like this the entire time? I would not. Because if I'm looking, I actually can't see what's on screen, so I would not. But Larry, it's fun. I do appreciate that super chat idea / thought. Cheers, man. All right, from Lance Dunbar's burner account. Tom, I'm basing my fantasy football draft on your shoulders. Will Dak have a solid year to be my quarterback 1, or are we running through Pollard this year? How many teams are in your league? If it's 12, I think Dak's in that. You can take him as your QB 1. If it's 10, I actually have been a fan of adding the scrambling quarterbacks more. I think there's enough of them, Allen, Hurts, Lamar, Fields, etc., where I'd actually go a little bit earlier and take one of those guys. But if you just wait on quarterbacks, you're going with Dak and Geno Smith, as one of the guys in my league actually did, that's fine with me. You invest elsewhere. So No complaints, especially if he's like the 9th quarterback taken. From Kyle Hemphill, why haven't we seen much of Hunter Lipke? Simply put, he's behind everybody else. He's played most of the fourth quarters in both of these games, and we might see a bunch of him next week, this Saturday, I should say, for the final preseason game. But the Cowboys wanted to give Rico Dowdle work. They wanted to give Malik Davis work. They gave Deuce Vaughn basically the third quarter of each game. Lipke's just behind and is a prime practice squad candidate. From Vince, which NFC team other than the Niners and the Eagles do you fear the most in the playoffs? I think you have the top two. And the third one is let's wait and see what happens. Some team will emerge. Maybe it's the Lions if Jared Goff plays steady. Maybe the Seahawks take a step forward again. Maybe the Rams don't end up sucking. Maybe Jordan Love's good and it's Green Bay again, which I would absolutely hate and despise. Maybe the Giants, who are a regression candidate, play better and look like a more competent team beyond just winning a bunch of close games. So several options. I just don't know yet, frankly. Now, if you want to bet on the NFL, do it with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use that promo code on screen. It is chatsports.com/bet, promo code Cowboys125 for 125% deposit bonus. You can bet on, for example, Defensive Player of the Year. Micah Parsons is your betting favorite at plus 550. Then TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. Joey Bosa is plus 1,000. And Max Crosby is plus 1,400. I kind of like Micah's bet at some good money. $100 down, they'll give you 125% for free. So that's 125 for free. Austin Cook, why not sign Robbie Gould? Two big reasons. Per Brian Broaddus, Gould doesn't want to do kickoffs and doesn't want to do kicks beyond 50 yards, which if that is true, that's like half your job. Maybe 40% of your job that you're just like, I don't want to do. Okay? What? And by the way, he has said on record, the money must be right. I'm not paying a kicker who doesn't want to do 50-yard tries and doesn't want to do kickoffs and his leg is bad. I'm out. So Brandon Aubrey's the option then, or maybe you sign Nick Folk if and when he gets cut, or somebody else. Michael Badger's available again here. What is your confidence level in Brandon Aubrey? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. It's 1 on the low end and 10 on the high end. From Tyler, what are your hopes for McCarthy calling the offensive plays? With Moore, it was all fly/comeback routes, and Zeke halfback dive became predictable, wasn't very creative. I will be concerned if Kellen Moore suddenly leaves Dallas and the creativity returns. Makes me think the call's coming from inside the house. The comeback routes are mostly dead. It will be replaced heavily by slant flats. That's going to be your new go-to passing call, which is better than curls, so I'm not mad about it. I do still think with Martin Steele back, that kind of gap, off tackle right, running behind those two guys, duo is going to be a big part of their ground game. Hopefully it leads to better results. I'm cautiously optimistic is where I'm at. Boondock Saint. I don't like our backups. I would like to see Dallas go get Sam Ehlinger from Indianapolis. I'd kind of put him in maybe the Will Grier category. He might not make the team. Ehlinger's not much of a real thrower, though. He's limited in that area. If you want a third down mobile guy, sure. That makes some sense, but I think Rush is a more stabilizing option. If you have not already, please make sure you guys are subscribed. Free Cowboys videos each and every single day right here on the Cowboys Report. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now. From Lance Dunbar's burner, give us a mid-high ticket name that we could push Clark into linebacker 3. Is that worth exploring or spend that draft capital elsewhere? I don't know, Isaiah Simmons or Patrick Queen, but I don't know if those guys are even better. And Clark's cheap for you. I think he's going to have a nice year. So I would keep that draft capital. And frankly, I might spend on a lineman if I could find one instead. From Chris B., Would you trade for Cardinals offensive tackle Josh Jones if available? Decent name. I actually considered him as, previously on the show. Sure. I'd say if he's cut, yes. Trade, I don't know if he's that good. From Alfonso Little, our last one here. Are you serious about Deuce Vaughn being better than Bijan Robinson? Alfonso clearly follows me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. I have been trolling very hard with Deuce Vaughn, also including Jalen Tolbert in that conversation. No, I'm not serious. Bijan's better than Deuce Vaughn. But I have enjoyed what Deuce Vaughn has done, and it's fun for me to try to draw people off sides because I'm immature and get them all riled up and stuff. So, serious Tom moment. Bijan's better, but I am excited about Deuce Vaughn. I'm going to have some fun on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney as well. All right, will the Cowboys beat the Raiders this weekend? The final preseason game. Can they win? Y for yes, N for no. I also want to shout out Ernest Huntley, who threw in 2 more $2 super chats. So thank you very much, Ernest. I do appreciate that. You're very kind. Cheers to you, my friend. Didn't have any questions, so I didn't put them in the mailbag, but hey, your support is very much appreciated. So will the Cowboys beat the Raiders this weekend? Y for yes, N for no. Aiden O'Connell is actually kind of a nice backup. I think he might have a good game. I think he might. Is he the best AOC? People are talking. It's a split here. PD says no. Vincent says no. Tika just hopefully, but no, probably not. Rick says 69-69 tie. Wayne says the Cowboys look lousy in the preseason. They are. It's the third string, which actually does make sense. Because if you're an undrafted free agent, excuse me, and you're trying to make a team outside of maybe the top few guys, like an Isaiah Land, you're going to try to go to a team where you have the best chance of making it. Like, if you're a corner, if you were good, you weren't signing with Dallas because you weren't going to make the team. You're going to go sign elsewhere. So that's kind of the reason why some of your third strings are not great. It's preseason. Wins, losses don't matter. Lance Dunbar's, Chris B's super chat is next up here. Chris B, thoughts on week 1 against the Giants? Lots of talk from Giants, and they closed the gap with us and are going to beat us finally. Hopefully not a letdown week 1. Look, at some point, the Giants are going to beat the Cowboys again. It's just going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen in week 1 this year. I do think you'll see the Cowboys start a little bit slowly. I do think the Giants are a better team than what they were last year, which might not show in their win-loss mark. I do think the Cowboys are better. So I think it'll be a close, kind of ugly, narrow, hard-fought win for New York. And to answer your question, yes, it is legal in Texas. So will the Cowboys beat the Raiders this weekend? Y for yes, N for no. I owe 1, 2, 3 more beer cheers for $5. There we go. Woo. Awesome. What we're going to do next, folks, is our probably final roster projection for your Dallas Cowboys. Preseason ends this weekend. The roster cutdowns come, I think, on Tuesday of next week. So very tight time frame, and not going to make that many changes from that final grouping. But we'll see. Maybe we'll do 2 videos on Monday. Who knows? Get your answers in here. If the Cowboys will beat the Raiders this weekend, then we'll break down what could be my final roster projection this year for the Cowboys. Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by Kinzuri. They are the height-boosting shoes that can get you 15% off and up to 2.8 inches, by the way, when you go to kinzuri.com/chat. Links in the comments and the description. All right, roster projection time. First up, 2 quarterbacks. I was unimpressed by Will Grier last week. You can carry an extra quarterback on the game day roster if they are on your active roster, but there are other guys I wanted to keep over Will Grier, so I'm going with just two. QB1, Dak Prescott. QB2, Cooper Rush. Now, we will have a live watch party for you guys. Cowboys against the Raiders. We're going to need your help. Take down Mitchell Renz and his financially irresponsible Raiders fan base and supers and likes and everything. Hit the like button on today's video if you will tune in for our always entertaining Cowboys versus Raiders watch party. All right, next up, let's go to the running backs. I'm going with three. We'll get to Malik Davis here in a second. Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn. Malik Davis was one of the last offensive players I cut. I'll leave Ronald Jones on there. He's suspended. He doesn't count against your roster right now, but he still might not make it. He's missed the first two games. We'll see if he plays in the third. Through two preseason games, there's two haves and one have-not. Rico Dowdle on his touches, 19 touches for 101 yards. He's had some nice work in the passing game, most specifically. Deuce Vaughn, who at one point had, I think it was like 13 touches for 71 yards or 74 yards or something like that, and then the O-line failed him completely in the back half. He's been awesome. He's making this team. Malik Davis, I'm not so sure. He has a chance to make it, don't get me wrong, but he's not guaranteed a spot. He's averaging less than 3.5 yards per touch so far. A good third game could help him get on this active roster, but I do think you can get him to the practice squad and maybe even be a game day call-up if you do go that route instead. So pick an RB2, DV for Deuce Vaughn, RD for Rico Dowdle, or MD for Malik Davis. Hunter Lipke, by the way, is not on here. He's going to be a practice squad option, really only there. So pick one for me with the pinned comment of today's show. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Wide receivers have not changed. CeeDee Lamb is a lock. Brandon Cooks is a lock. Michael Gallup is a lock. Jalen Tolbert is a lock. Kevontae Turpin is on the right side of the bubble for me, and so is Jalen Brooks. And Turpin, there's been some buzz he's not going to make it, but he's your best. He's your best return man. I got to put him on there. So Brooks over Simi Fehoko, by the way. It should be telling that the first two preseason games, when they went three wide, it's those backups: Tolbert, Turpin, Brooks, not Fehoko. Plus, Brooks offers you more on special teams. All right, the tight ends. This is a tough one for me. I'm only going with three. Sean McEwen was the other last offensive player I chose to cut from this list. I would not be surprised if he made it. He would get to your practice squad, I think, though, so you can maybe, cut him and then bring him back at some point, be a game day call-up. Jake Ferguson, Peyton Hendershot, who was kind of waffling a bit because John Stevens was impressing, and then Stevens got hurt and his season's over. He's going to go on IR, so his year's done. I almost put McEwen because I kind of want an H-back, a fullback type. I think Luke Schoonmaker could do that. So I'm going to put Schoonmaker in that role and live in my 11 personnel and receivers still. Now, folks, today's show is made possible by Kinzuri. Have you ever wished you were a little bit taller? Maybe you matched on Tinder, but a profile says you got to be over 6 foot. Maybe your date wants to wear heels, but you can't because it'll make her taller than you. We have short kings covered with today's sponsor, Kinzuri. Kinzuri makes shoes that add to 2.8 inches to your height without anyone knowing. Deuce Vaughn, this is for you, my friend. Kinzuri shoes are not just height boosting, but also stylish and comfortable. They are not grandpa's Velcro shoes, but fashionable shoes that can get compliments even without the height increase. The height insoles are built into the shoes, making it the ultimate height hack. For a limited time, you guys get an extra 15% off your order at kinzuri.com/chat. The site is already 30% off. With our link, you get an extra 15%. That's 45% off your entire order. To support our show, and check them out at conzuri.com/chat. Look, if Deuce Vaughn was wearing Kinzuris and wasn't 5'5", he might have been a third-round pick. Life is short, but you don't have to be. Level up the playing field with Kinzuri. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. All right, to the offensive line, and boy, I don't know what to do here. Your locks are Tyler Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele. I think Austin Richards is a lock, even though he's probably better off as like lineman 7 or 8 for you. I think Matt Farniok is safe, but I have not been impressed by him. Matt Waletkzo has not carried through a strong training camp and is kind of a strong mini camp, kind of cooled off a little bit there. I don't really want Josh Ball on my team. So TJ Bass, I'm going to put over Josh Ball, but I wouldn't mind an addition here. Now, notably off this list is Chuma Edoga. Adoga's been hurt. He is a vested veteran. So what the Cowboys could hypothetically do here is, either A, carry him through waivers, then put him on IR, or release him, re-sign him, put him on IR, or keep him on the roster. He would not have to hit waivers, so he could be back in some capacity on the practice squad as a stash somewhere. But I haven't seen him play yet, so tough for me to give him even the edge over TJ Bass. I just don't like this depth on the Cowboys offensive line. I think it is thin right now. So what is your biggest concern on the Cowboys roster? Is it kicker? Is it O-line depth? Maybe it's the coach. Maybe it's the QB. Whatever it is, sound off for me in the comment section with your single biggest concern with this Cowboys roster as it is currently constructed. The defensive tackles here. And, all right, I would have loved to have made room for Quinton Bohanna. He might not make it through waivers. He has been much better, but Osa, Mazi, Chauncey Golston, they drafted Junior Fehoko in the 5th round, who only played 1 preseason game so far. Jonathan Hankins is going to make it. Like, it just doesn't, the math isn't right for Bohanna, nor is it right for Neville Gallimore, unfortunately. Now, I will say this. I think Neville Gallimore has been better this preseason than what we've seen previously, and that makes me happy. But there's a lot of numbers game going on along that defensive line, and you'd save like $2.75 million with a release or a trade. You have depth at defensive tackle and at defensive end. I would not be surprised if the Cowboys took one of those pieces and flipped it for an offensive lineman or maybe even a linebacker at this point. So what would you do with Neville Gallimore? K for you'd keep him, C for you'd cut him, or T for you would trade him. Sound off for me where else but in the comment section right now. I went 6 deep at defensive end, and that includes Golston and Fehoko can both play on the outside. So, I have gone very deep at this spot because I want to. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Sam Williams. I have been very impressed by Isaiah Land. I don't want to cut him. He actually might get poached if you were to release him. So maybe you can find a trade partner for a Fowler or an Armstrong, make your math a little bit easier. But otherwise, I'm going to go 6 deep, which is not something I thought I'd do. Plus, Micah and maybe Isaiah Land can play some off-ball linebacker if you need to, because you're thin at linebacker. You have Leighton Vander Esch, Damone Clark. Overshown's out for the year. I'm going to go 4 linebackers deep here. Harper and Jabril Cox rounded out. I'm not going to project any trades or signings, but I wouldn't be shocked if they added somebody here. I'll instead go super heavy at the safety spot, which we will get to here in a little bit. But help us continue to grow here at the Cowboys Report. Free videos every single day, multiple times per day. If you love the Cowboys, if you want more updates, hit that sub button if you haven't already done so. Free videos right here on the Cowboys Report. Over to corner. I'm going to go 6 deep here. Asterisks on kind of 2 of them to a certain extent. Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, Deron Bland. Those guys are locks. Eric Scott, I think, will make it. C.J. Goodwin, who could also be a trim and sign reback because he's not a vested veteran, or he is one, so he doesn't have to go through waivers. Jordan Lewis on IR, or on the pup list, excuse me, and then I'll put Kelvin Joseph over Nahshon Wright. Now, what you could see here is the Cowboys release someone like Trent Sig, your long snapper, carry Wright through roster cuts, and then put Nahshon Wright on IR. He's been banged up, had his foot in a boot over the weekend still. You could IR stash him and then have the chance to bring back if more injuries happen. The Cowboys love that kind of roster manipulation stuff, but if you're only carrying your top 6 corners and Goodwin makes as a core special teamer, I think I'd go Joseph over Wright at the moment. All right, the safety list. I went 6 deep, the deepest I've ever gone at this grouping, because Jaron Kearse, Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson are making this team. I see no reason why Israel Mukuamu would not make it. And with your thinness at linebacker, I think it frees up room for both Marquise Bell and room for Wanye Thomas, 2 guys who I have been impressed by so far this preseason. Special teams, we'll stick with Brandon Aubrey for now. Brian Anger, Trent Sig are obvious, locks. There's nobody else on the roster. Do not be shocked if the Cowboys release someone like Trent Sig and then re-sign him the next day to help put someone on IR afterward. As always, practice squad projections are coming up next here. Who do you want to get to the practice squad? Let me know in the comment section right now. All right, 16 players. We'll go through them here. Will Grier, that one's easy. Malik Davis, we mentioned him earlier. I do think Hunter Lipke will get to your practice squad. I know he's been hyped as a fullback, but he hasn't really done fullback stuff in the preseason. I think he's just kind of a short yardage power back who I think just needs some more time. I'll make room for Simi Fehoko at wide receiver. I'll go with David Durden. You haven't seen much of him over guys like, Dennis Houston, because Houston's kind of run his course. It shows you how bad the receiving room was last year that Houston started a freaking game for you. Jalen Cropper also makes it. Sean McEwen, if you can get him down there. He could be a game day call-up, some kind of like what he was in previous years. Earl Bostic, the tackle. There you go. Brock Hoffman, and I'll put Josh Ball on there. Don't like the person, but I do think he played better last week. I'll give him some credit. Quinton Bohanna, he might get poached, but I'm going to do it. Isaac Alarcon, the DT, who actually, I'll make a note here. I actually want him on my practice squad because he was an offensive tackle, now playing DT. I think that position flex actually carries value for your practice squad, so I actually want him on there, even though he's out of freebie spots. Tyrus Wheat, who also got some off-ball linebacker reps, and that was not very good. Don't know why they did that. Doesn't make sense to me, but as an edge, sure. Malik Jefferson, just like last year. Nashawn Wright, if there's not some IR, sneakiness, if he doesn't make it, he might get through waivers there. And finally, Tyler Coyle also makes it on our practice squad projection. So at 7 safeties you're carrying, he could get poached, though, as a special teamer. All right, the pinned poll on today's show. The Cowboys need to get another linebacker. 1 for yes, 0 for no, 71% saying yes, which I can't say I'm too surprised by there. We have one more super to get to. I will put 2 minutes on the clock. If $5 or more supers come in, we'll stay live, answer them, then we will sign off in today's live show. Andres Yabarvo. If I assume Sam Williams doesn't want to get cut, he better mature fast. I think that's the biggest issue for Sam Williams. It's not the physical talent level. I do think it is the maturity. And look, in the moment, you can excuse away, he was trying to make a play on the football and get the sack, and he's playing fast, but you can't go low and take out your quarterback. You can't be starting fights against your teammates and then, trying to say, take the pads off to your other defensive lineman. It just doesn't make any sense. I do think that the organization didn't love his car accident last year, the way he handled it. He went out and told everybody, it's a miracle I'm alive. I'm just lucky. I'm happy to be here. It's really great, freak accident. Well, then it comes out later he was driving insanely fast and almost killed somebody. That did not go over well. He is a very talented player who does have some maturity stuff that does need to get squared away. So keep him on the straight and narrow. There's a lot of talent there, and I think that's a big thing for the Cowboys. From Sebastian, $5. Been living under a rock. Why is Josh Ball hated as a person? That's okay, Sebastian. I want to put everyone to be aware of it. So what happened is that back at Florida State, Josh Ball was accused multiple times, or I should say accused of beating his girlfriend multiple times. Now, Josh Ball was not charged with any crimes, although I think it was a Title IX investigation, if I think I'm using that correctly, did find that he did it. So the legal court might not have found him guilty. The school court did find him guilty. He transfers to Marshall. Didn't really show any, remorse. When he spoke about it briefly, he actually just blocked everyone on Twitter who made notes of it, at least some who made notes of it there. The protective order that his girlfriend got laid out a lot of stuff that was just not great. It was just, in the end, to boil it down succinctly, domestic violence. I don't like that. Some people got mad at me in that draft because I was like, you shouldn't have taken him. I don't want to take those guys on my team. So that's why people don't like Josh Ball. The way he handled it, what he did, big factors there. And fair or not, the way the world tends to work is that if you are good at what you do, it will be more easily overlooked. You have a lot more margin for error. When you don't, well, now there's nothing to prevent you from just continuously calling it out. Like, for example, Vontae Turpin did that shit too. It is more frequently overlooked because Turpin's a good return man. And the timing of it was very different, where Turpin was a UDFA and signed up to the USFL and didn't get drafted and missed a bunch of time. So it was viewed differently, fair or not, and probably a bit unfair there. Folks, 57% of viewers are subscribed. That is it. If you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. Free Cowboys videos every single day right here on the channel. If you missed our DeMarvion Overshown replacements, don't worry. That'll be available on demand not long after today's live show wraps. Appreciate everyone who tuned in on the show.